That is Robert. Robert is the little 63 Falcon. His name is Robert because he's Robert Redford. Robert Redford. He's the little 63 Falcon that I got from my buddy up in Tennessee, who was actually living here at the time. His name's Larry. And I fell in love with him. He's all original. Little 176, 2-speed, 4-automatic, automatic, 4-door base model. It's just a neat little car. Well, I got him. I was going to drive him some, but really got him for Donnie. But Donnie also is working on the little bug in the background. So we also are going to have a little bug to drive and enjoy. I decided, well, actually when we got it home, Drew decided he really liked this little car. So we found this little guy and went and got him from a friend of mine. This one is a 4-door Futura, a little fancier trim package. But when we got him home, we started discovering that this guy needs a lot more work than we thought. We wanted something that was more like Robert, where the engine's running already, transmission's good, brake job, pans welded in the floorboard, and set of tires. He's a driver. This one's going to require a lot more work. So we thought, well, what if we sold the black one and got Drew one that's more like Robert? So we started looking for one. And lo and behold, guess what? We found this little guy. This is a special car too, because it was one of the very last 63s made. As a matter of fact, it was in the very last run of the 63s. It is painted a 1964 color. And this car is all original. It's very original. 176 with a 2-speed 4-automatic 4-door, exactly like Robert. When we bought it, the engine was frozen up. Donnie has since freed the engine up, and we even had it turning with the starter. And of course, he's been working on the generator.
This is the generator for the blue 1963 Ford Falcon that we have. That is going to be Drew's car. This car happened to still have the original generator, the 12-volt generator and regulator and everything. All of it's still intact and still in decent shape. But before we get the car running, I wanted to make sure this worked, where when it does run, it is charging the battery so we don't kill the battery and ruin the battery. So I pulled the generator off and I completely disassembled it. And the first thing I did is I tested my field windings. And I made sure there was no shorts within the windings themselves, where they're not shorting out against each other, the wires. And then I made sure that the windings are not shorting out against the body. So I want to make sure that they are completely isolated. And after I figured that out, I also measured, like I said, the short within the windings themselves, and there's supposed to be a certain resistance. And this one showed up to about 1.6 ohms, and that's where it should be. So everything with the field windings turned out good, so I didn't have to mess with them. There's just a little bit of tape I put on them to make sure nothing else was shorted out, because this thing is, what, 57 years old?
Somewhere there.
Somewhere around in there. So I just had to use some electrical tape to cover up some bare wire, and everything's working fine. Then I tested the armature and the commutator on the end of the armature, which is a little copper piece that the brushes right up against. And I cleaned it up, tested it. The armature's not shorted out. None of it's been burnt up or anything. So everything electrically is sound. And I just cleaned up connections where your wires would go. This one's your ground, that one's your field, and then your armature one is on the back. This one right here. That's your main positive. Anyway, so after I cleaned it up, all the bearings are good, and electrically it's sound. So then after that, all you have to do is test it. And I have it hooked up right now, so I just flip this on. When I flip this on, properly. This is just testing the armature mainly. If I ground out the field, it should spin faster, which helps prove that it is not grounded out already. As you can see, when I connect it up to when I ground out the field, it speeds up.
Someone wants to use a power supply. It's an old
Radio Shack
12 volts power supply that I used to use to power a mobile CB radio that I was using as a base station. And so that's how we're using this to power it up. This 12 volt power supply, that's it.
The generator is working as intended. I'm going to put it back on the car. I'm going to make sure that the regulator is in good shape. This is a mechanical regulator. It has sets of contact points and electromagnetic coils and stuff like that. All that voodoo and whatnot. But as long as it's clean and all the connections are clean, it should work. So I will check that. Then whenever the car runs, it should be properly charging the battery.
Good job, son. I'm proud of it. To be continued.
One small issue with this generator we have found is, as you can see, as the pulley spins, it's in really bad shape. This car has some rust issues, and for some reason the pulley just happens to be the worst of the rust issues.
It's wobbling
But as
pretty
you
good.
can see, it's wobbling like really bad. And then if you look at it too, there are two massive rot holes inside the pulley.
I'm jiggling. Wait a minute, do again.
There's two massive rot holes right here and right here in the pulley. I mean, they go straight through.
Yeah.
So
we did recognize that the pulley needs to be replaced.
we're gonna replace the pulley, but I did take a wire wheel on my angle grinder and cleaned all the rust to where it's smooth, to where for testing purposes it'll be fine.
Yeah, just for testing, driving around the yard.
For testing
make sure.
purposes only.
Yeah.
But we'll find a new pulley and replace this pulley because we can't keep it like this.
No,
It
we
will eat belts.
You might get a couple of miles to the store, but the way that thing's wobbling, you ain't getting home. That belt will come flying off.
Yep. So we'll replace it.
Yay!
To be continued.
Yeah.
There's a little 6-cylinder engine, and so that's kind of where we are right now with this project. There's a lot that needs to be done, but there's a lot that is really good on this car, just like on little Robert. So we're really excited about our finds. Now what we're going to do with our Black Falcon, not so sure. I want to sell it and get the money to put towards the other two, but my dad and Donnie, once again, make good points. There's a lot of good parts in that car, or maybe in the future we could make it a driver. I don't know. Then again, it might sit too long. Might be better to let somebody else take it and let somebody else make it a driver, because it is full of potential. I mean, it's perfectly restorable.
Perfect V8 swap.
Yeah, Donnie says he wants to put a V8 in it. Well,
289 C4 automatic. That'd be perfect.
that would be a good